Let's quickly move on to June, because I'm aware that we just spent a lot of time on May. June saw films like Last Exorcism Part 2, Behind the Candelabra, After Earth, Haunted House, a film that I've not seen, but I've heard it's actually worse than Scary Movie 5. World War Z, which came as quite a surprise to me, and I really appreciated it, but not as much as my film of the month for June, which was Much Ado About Nothing, which I only got to watch for the first time yesterday. Rob?
Yeah, well, I'll leave you to talk about Much Ado, actually. I'll talk about a different film.
I guess it's got the words Joss Whedon track to it, so Rob will go on for hours.
With Much Ado, it's such a beautiful looking film. The monochromatic camera work, it's all black and white, a bit off-putting to people. It's all Shakespearean dialogue, off-putting to people. But trust me, 10 minutes into the film, you actually understand everything which is getting said. You laugh with the characters when you're supposed to laugh. You cry when you're supposed to cry. And my God, how beautiful is Joss Whedon's house?
Oh, yeah.
If you want to rob Joss Whedon's house, watch this film, because you get to know it intimately. It's such a well-crafted personal project that Whedon just basically put together with a group of his mates. Let's do my favourite Shakespeare.
That's what vacation from Avengers, weren't it?
Yeah, that's what him and his wife decided to do.
Instead of their anniversary.
Yeah, instead of their anniversary, we decided to just put the money into
make a Shakespeare
film.
Which is great.
It is Shakespeare. Like, people do worry about the Shakespearean language, but it is that language filtered through Whedon.
Yeah.
So you have got that familiarity.
It really helps when you got like Nathan Fillion and
you got Nathan Fillion being Nathan Fillion.
Yeah.
So, what one do you want to pick?
Behind the Candelabra.
Another one I've not got around to seeing.
It was fantastic.
I've got it at home as well, and I've still not watched it.
It was really good. I know it was made for HBO in the States, which is why it didn't get a thematic release, and it's a shame, because if it had, Matt Damon and Michael Douglas would both be nominated for Oscars. They are incredible, and Matt Damon in particular. Michael Douglas, it's not so much doing an impression of Liberace, but it's so good. I mean, I don't quite know how they managed to do the shots of him playing the piano, because I was watching thinking, that's not Michael Douglas, surely. But then it was so well done. And Matt Damon goes the journey from where he is at the start of the film to the end of the film is one of the most complete characters that you're ever likely to see on screen. I thought, and it looked the whole extravagance of it all. I have no idea how Liberace lives at all, but to see how
his first costumes. And coats.
I have vague memories as a kid.
Is one of the most hilarious supporting characters of the year.
Yeah, the surgeon. Yeah,
it looks so mental. It is brilliant.
See, I have vague memories as a kid of whenever Liberace was on TV, I think the exuberance that's been displayed, I saw in the trailer for this film alone, summed up exactly how he came across. Any time that you saw any specials with him, or he turned up on any variety shows or anything, he was always flamboyant, over the top, and loads of people didn't realise he was gay.
No.
It's just like George Michael.
Joke about that's a joke in the film.
Yeah.
Like Matt Damon, Scott Bakula's character says something like, and it's hilarious how no one thinks he's gay, and Matt Damon's like, what?
But he was accused of being gay by one of these like English tabloid papers.
Yeah, I think that's a plot.
Yeah, that's like some point in film, and then he sues the paper.
Yeah,
it's not true, and then like wins all this money.
Did Kat see anything in June?
Despicable Me 2.
Did you like it?
I went into it I sort of assumed it was going to be kind of milking Despicable Me 1 a little bit. I went into it thinking it wasn't going to be as good as the first one, and I came out surprised, because I enjoyed it probably more than the first one, to be honest. I really thought they did well to say it was a sequel.
Yeah, I'd go with that, and I can't wait for the Minions to have their own film.
See, I'm a little bit dubious about that. I don't know if they're sort of milking. What do people love about? What do people love about Despicable Me? The Minions. Let's give them their own film.
I loved it. I loved the little daft nature of the humour, like, strapping a shark onto a giant missile.
I really hope the Minions movie is some kind of like silent Buster Keaton-esque comedy. That'd be fantastic.
That'd be great. Yeah, I'm interested to see where they're going to go with it, but I'm going to remain reserved, I think.
I really don't like Minions.
Really?
Yeah, definitely the only person
Can hear this
in the
fart
world.
gun coming at you now.
Yeah. I mean, I saw the first one, didn't see this one. I saw the first one, thought it was fine, thought it was cool, enjoyed it, pretty good. And then all the merchandise came out. And I kind of ranked them up there with like Angry Birds and the characters that I just absolutely can't stand and
I
make me want
think it's unfair to dismiss a film because it's got a lot of merchandise out. I mean,
look at Star Wars.
Star Wars, yeah.
No, I'm not really dismissing it because of the merchandise. It's just not really helped it for me.
So what did stand out for you in June?
I think I'm just going to have to join Rob and say Behind the Candelabra. I did really enjoy This Is the End.
This Is the End.
Didn't really
I haven't
expect
got around
to.
to watching that yet, but it's one of the films of the year I really have been meaning to
It has
see.
one of the best endings to a film ever.
It has.
No spoilers, please.
Michael Cera's great.
My film.
Yeah.
Well, a documentary took me back to my era, so to speak. And as soon as I knew we were going to make it Shea Meadows, it was Stone Roses.
Oh yeah.
I could talk about it all day, could do a podcast for it, but that was my film in June. That was my era. That was probably in my top 10 films of the year, because Shea Meadows doing it, because I do like Dead Man's Shoes and This Is England and all them lot, but as soon as he knew him making that, it was brilliant to me, so I'm a little bit biased towards that. I'd probably go on more on the film What Did Let Me Down, and I don't usually say this, but I agree with Andy. The film what just didn't do it for me was Man of Steel.
Because we've not got cameras, just so you guys know. The ground has just opened up.
And
Hell is rising.
a giant demon's just come out, and I think he's going to have sex with one of us. That was This Is the End. Yeah, Man of Steel. I've got a lot of dislike for this film, and every time that I say this, defenders of it always say, "Oh, you just don't like him snapping Zod's neck." Well, actually, that wasn't an issue. I didn't have a problem with that. I'd given up on the film halfway through the film. I'd given up when Jonathan Kent gets killed by one of the worst tornadoes in history. And not because of the way that he poorly just merged in with the tornado while everything else was getting whipped away, but more for the fact that putting myself in the shoes of Kal-El at that point in time, I refuse to call him Clark. I refuse, because he was nothing to do with Superman. I put myself into his shoes, watching a parent who you could save die just to protect yourself. Can't do it. That's not a hero to me. I would kill myself for any of my family. And unless he was getting abused by Jonathan Kent, which that wasn't being shown through the film. But
a very weird, like,
at that point in the film, that was no longer Superman to me. That was no longer a heroic character. I cannot look to that character and think of him as being a defender, as a pure person helping everyone. I lost it at that point, and from that point onwards, the film then went into over-the-top violence, lots of decimation, and one of the longest action sequences since the Avengers, but without the fun. Avengers had a similar length of action sequence and decimation, but it also had a sense of like camaraderie, teamwork, and protection of civilians, whereas this didn't. You know, the man who's supposed to be the hero of it, the Man of Steel, actually takes the chief villain from the middle of a field where no one would get harmed and flies him straight into Smallville so that everyone can get in the way of it, and then takes him all the way to Metropolis as well. And it's like, what? In Superman 2, great film, the Donner cut, not the Lester cut. Superman lures Zod and his henchmen away from civilians once he realises they're in trouble. In this, he just throws Zod into them. Didn't like it.
Honestly,
Hated it.
though, was he better than Brandon Routh?
I like Brandon Routh.
There's a lot to like about Brandon Routh's Superman, actually. Yeah.
I don't think that film's too bad, to be honest.
I have a soft spot.
Looking
for,
back at it, it's better than when it came out.
I have a soft spot for Brandon Routh.
It's better than bloody Quest for Peace.
Yeah.
He's his third.
Yeah.
I could spend hours going on about Man of Steel, but I'm not going to. I'm going to draw the line there.
Move on.
Quickly move on to
I did like it a lot more than you, probably. There's a lot I liked about it. I really liked Henry Cavill as
Joel.
Oh,
Joel
Russell
was
Crowe,
great,
obviously, is amazing. Jor-El on a memory stick. And Amy Adams as well.
Jor-El 2.0.
I thought Amy Adams was really great as Lois Lane.
July. You know what? July provided for me not the worst film of the year, because it wasn't the worst film. It's the biggest disappointment of the year, and that was The World's End.
That is not popular. I was sure you were going to say Pacific Rim.
No.
I thought you were
I thought you were going to say Smurfs 2.
Yeah, because the first one was on the boss.
They set the bar with the first one. Yeah, I really didn't think much of The World's End. Compared to Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, I thought it was crap.
You see, it wasn't trying to be this. Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz are both pretty much the same type of film. They're both very, let's make a comedy of a zombie movie, let's make a comedy of an action movie.
So, yeah,
but World's End was, they took the success of those two films and
if he was
tried to do something
for a
completely
trilogy,
different.
you would think he would go for a similar sort of feel.
He's still making a genre film.
Yeah, it just got lumped as a trilogy once he made the second one and put a reference to Cornetto into it.
Yeah.
And it was a pure accident that it then became known as, oh, well, it's the Three Flavours. Yeah, it was never intended to be a trilogy. It was just that he added one little joke, which then people said, oh, your next film's got to have it as well.
It would have been worse had they done the same thing again.
Yeah.
But the fact that they took the Simon Pegg and Nick Frost relationship and completely twisted it.
Yeah.
I think
this has got probably
with
the best development of characters.
Definitely.
Of all of them.
I see, with me, when I first watched Hot Fuzz, with the expectations they had from Shaun of the Dead, I watched Hot Fuzz and felt disappointed. But Hot Fuzz I went back to, and I've loved it more and more each time. And this is the same.
Talking about long action sequences, the last half an hour of Hot Fuzz.
And this is the same that, with The World's End, every time I watch it, I get something more from it. And I think there's more layers to the film than what's actually showing on screen.
Definitely.
Nah, it didn't do it for me.
I love that there was more than just Simon Pegg and Nick Frost as well. Paddy Considine and Martin Freeman and Eddie Marsan to round out the Five Musketeers brilliantly. Especially Eddie Marsan, who's a great drunk actor. He's the same in Famous Old Bill. It's the year of Eddie Marsan being drunk on Phil. It's amazing.
I didn't care about it. I just really didn't care about it. I'm sorry, guys. I know you're big fans and everything, but I thought there were far worse films. Again, I think
I mean, like I said, it wasn't the worst film of the year, but it's definitely disappointed me the most.
I think there were a worse film and here and there, but they were fine to me.
For me, on July, the biggest disappointment for me was The Wolverine, which I did enjoy when I first watched it, but it's one of them that, on reflection, I enjoyed it so much because the first Wolverine film was so rubbish.
Yeah, I said
and the more that I look back at the Wolverine, and see, the character study was great, but unfortunately they then shoehorned in that really bad CGI train top fight. Then towards the end, they put that really bad CGI fight against the Silver Samurai, and it was the really bad forced-in action sequences that broke what was a good character study. And it wasn't a great film. It was a disappointment. Like I say, initially I was like, kind of enjoyed that, but it was one that when I came to type my review up, I was thinking, I only enjoyed it because I hated the first one so much. And it's on reflection that I don't want to experience that film again. Whereas Pacific Rim, God, I want to sit and watch that film every day.
I want to sit and watch Pacific Rim purely because you bang on about it so much. And I'm probably going to end up watching it and thinking,
it was giant monsters versus giant robots.
I'm probably going to sit down and watch it and I'm thinking it's not that good.
Yeah,
Stack of Pentecost.
Paul, July?
July. Same as you, Andy, Pacific Rim. You can't go wrong with it. An IMAX screening of monsters versus robots. I just don't think people got it. That's why it didn't do well in the UK. We could sell it to
Did it do well
it did well in the East.
Yeah.
China and Japan embraced that bad boy.
Surprised,
I just think people thought it were ridiculous. Yeah, it were. But
how well it's done in the East has actually made them think, well, there's a possibility we might be able to do something more with this franchise.
See, I'm not fussed about a sequel. Leave it be.
Yeah,
Pacific Rim is a fantastic film as it is. Doesn't need to go on anymore.
It's a PPF to me.
We've got Atlantic Rim from the Asylum. What more do we need?
I'd much rather Del Toro go on and do other things.
It's got Crimson Peak.
Crimson Peak, yeah. Well, he keeps going on about the Haunted Mansion movie, which I really wanted to get around to doing.
Rob, Monsters University.
Yeah, Monsters University for me. Well, actually, it was that and The Wolverine for me. It's my best films for July. Monsters Uni was... for the longest time, I was like... I was just not fussed. Pixar, the last couple of years, including Monsters Uni in this... They haven't been at the top of the game since Cars 2. Well, not saying Cars 2, Brave, and Monsters Uni. They kind of been on the back burner a bit. But Monsters Uni was a step in the right direction again. It's not up there with any of the other great Pixar films. Probably on a par with like A Bug's Life for me, which is still those great films, but there's not the quality of Up and Wall-E and Ratatouille.
It wasn't a great Pixar film. But
it was a great Pixar comedy,
film.
actually.
It was a good film.
Yeah, it was probably the most comedic, outright comedy of Pixar.
Yeah.
But I wish they would have gone the college route a bit more. Oh god, that was really American, sorry.
College route?
You're just preparing.
I know. If they'd have gone... It becomes... After the first half an hour, it becomes a sports movie, which I wasn't anticipating at all. I think if they'd stuck to it and made more Animal House, or any not necessarily remake Animal House of Monsters, but if they'd have stuck to the college side of things a bit more and not concentrated on the like X Games, Monster Games, whatever they're called, then I think it probably could have been a better film. But as it stands, it still works really well as a prequel to Monsters Inc. And it's still great to see those characters again, because again, John Goodman, who's getting a lot of love on this podcast. John Goodman
and Netflix are getting a lot of love.
I was going to say we've not mentioned Netflix.
Well, we're on to the part of the year that they've not bought anything from yet.
I'm going to say, I feel like we've not reached our Netflix quota yet. So.
John Goodman and Billy Crystal, as those two characters, are two of the best characters Pixar have created, so it's always good to
You've got that natural rapport between them as well.
Well, they filmed the stuff together,
which is very rare for animation.
They did it for Monsters, I think. I assume they did it for this again.
I read somewhere that they've got them back in.
Yeah, so you can see they've got that almost improv thing going on between them, which is quite rare in animation these days.
There's usually, for those who don't know, usually when it comes to an animated feature, each of the characters reads their lines without anyone else nearby. They do it solo in the studio.
Well, at least not necessarily the same performer nearby.
It's just someone filling in the lines for them.
Yeah.
So you don't get that banter and that, inspired comedy. Billy Crystal's well known for just coming up with things at the drop of a hat. It's what made him so great when he was hosting the Oscars.
Not the last time, though.
Not the last time. It felt,
He kind of got rushed into that.
The Oscars recently seems to be trying to get through the awards as quick as possible and not letting enough time for the natural flow.
Yeah. It seems to be like a lot less about the awards and more about who's going to be hosting it now.
Let's leave a discussion of the Oscars until Oscar season, shall we?
We'll do that.
Yes, we'll do an Oscar one further down the line. Before we quickly move on to August, have you got anything that you want to give a shout out for in July?
Just kind of same old, really. World's End is up there with Pacific Rim. My one kind of thing against Pacific Rim, as much as I loved some of the fight sequences, they were quite dark and murky sometimes. I think if we were to do a second one, there's been a lot of people saying...
Make it a day!
Yeah, go on Don't Have Eyes about it and do a couple of fights in the day so we can see some monsters a bit better. Aside from that, I think it was a good first kind of lead vehicle for Charlie Hunnam. Hope he gets more like it.
For August saw me laugh me socks off at Alan Partridge Alpha Papa, which I thought was consistently funny throughout. The film that I'm going to champion the most for August is the film that so many people through disdain and hated, and the critics were all over to sink it before it even got released. It's One Direction.
It was such an insightful documentary. I don't know why people panned it.
Yeah,
don't mention One Direction to me at the moment. I don't like the rip-off of Def Leppard that they've released.
You know, I listened to that earlier, and I can sort of hear what
it's the
people
guitar.
are saying,
it's the guitar riff.
It doesn't sound obvious.
Did they rip off the Clash as well?
Yes, they ripped off the Clash, they ripped off the Who, and now they're ripping off Def Leppard. I'm going to champion Lone Ranger, a film that so many people jumped on the bandwagon to hate without watching, and yet I know of so many people who watched it and came out with big beaming smiles on their faces. Let's be honest, the best final act of any film this year.
Yeah.
As soon as that William Tell overture kicks in with a you are just rocking in your seat, jumping up and down, and loving it.
It's probably the best big action sequence of any film I've seen this year.
It's not a perfect film.
Good.
The time watching it flew by. I didn't look at me watch once. It was a long film. Afterwards, I looked at it and went, could have lost 40 minutes. Helena Bonham Carter didn't need to be in there. They could have got rid of the framing device of him telling the story to the kid. But it wasn't a bad film. It was it was a summertime blockbuster. I'm glad to see that we've got a few people agree with me.
Well, we saw this together, didn't we?
I thought it weren't bad. I sat and watched it, and there's all the cliches. It's another Pirates of the Caribbean. But if you watch it as a lone film, then it were fine. But I don't know why they criticised it so much. It were okay for me. The biggest film of August. I'll let your guys go on because I will go off to a tangent. So,
anything you want to champion for?
You know, I really enjoyed Your Next.
Not seen it.
It wasn't. I don't know. For me, it felt a bit like The Cabin in the Woods. It wasn't as good as The Cabin in the Woods. Nowhere near. Not even on the same plane. But it was very aware of itself, and it wasn't trying to be a serious horror. It wasn't a parody. It wasn't a comedy. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Like I said, probably because it was quite self-aware, and it was quite silly in places. I think the head in the blender was a bit daft. I don't know if any of you caught that, but yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Rob?
Well, my film for August would be The Way, Way Back, which did anyone see?
I did.
Yeah. I think it was. I really like the Fox 2000s. Fox Searchlight pictures, stuff like that. I can't remember if this is Fox Searchlight or anything, but films of that ilk I really like, and this film was right up that alley. Any film that has Sam Rockwell in.
Dancing.
Exactly. There's only one scene of it though, there's only dances once, which is a slight disappointment.
I really enjoyed Steve Carell playing.
Steve Carell, against type a little bit, a bit of an asshole. And Alison Janney as well, it's fantastic. It's one of those great summer movies. That's not. It's not means to mean a blockbuster or anything. Just a great film about summer. One of those great American films. Like it could stand up there with Stand By Me. For that kind of not as quite as good as Stand By Me, but it'd be that kind of thing to go watch. But so yeah, that and Jurassic Park.
Coming of age film.
Coming of age film. That's it. Thank you, Paul.
I didn't get round to watching Jurassic Park in 3D because I probably would have if it wasn't in 3D.
Oh, the 3D was great.
I just love the film anyway. I don't need a 3D gimmick thrown in to try to make me like it any better.
I didn't like it anymore. It was impossible to like it anymore.
I don't think
I was tempted to go in and close one eye and watch it in 2D.
I don't think too much was added with the 3D. It was just the fact that I was seeing it again.
The only time I really noticed the 3D was the moment when, towards the end of the film, when what's the kid's name? Alexis? The little girl, can't remember her name, she falls through the ceiling and then the Velociraptor jumps up. And that's the one moment where it's gimmicky 3D, whereas everything after that it's all done quite subtly and quite smart. And that's the one time it's like the raptor's jumping out of the screen at you. And it was a great moment.
Case can't think.
I can't. There's quite a few good ones. Probably Partridge.
Yeah,
Partridge
Partridge, like I said at the start, consistently funny. I didn't expect to laugh. I love Alan Partridge, but I didn't expect it to carry for the whole film, but it did.
I'm glad they didn't do the whole kind of Borat route and just transpose it to America and see how people would react to Alan, kind of thing. I like that we kind of brought Hollywood to shoot in Norwich, which was brilliant, really. Die Hard and radio station.
Aware of the time, I'm going to just quickly say that the most abhorrent film of the year came out in August for me. I don't care that The Rock was in it. You cannot defend
Is there a film
Pain
that
and
came
Gain.
out that The Rock wasn't in?
You can't defend Pain and Gain.
It was playing
especially,
Blue Ranger.
especially if you know and have read the actual journalistic extracts which it was supposedly based on. What they did would be equivalent to turning The Moors Murders, Myra Hindley and Ian Brady into a romantic comedy. It was such an abhorrent film that twisted the facts and tried to portray a bunch of thugs as a bit misunderstood and a bit stupid, really. Oh, don't you feel sorry for them? And didn't he deserve to get tortured and punished? Well, no, the real bloke in real life, whose name is available in the actual released book and press journals, not changed to protect anyone, changed because Michael Bay changed his whole character to make him utterly dislikable. A horrible film.
The only thing I want to say in his defence is The Rock is hilarious in it. He is the saving grace of that film, I promise you.
Boner for The Rock.
Have you seen it?
I saw it.
I genuinely think he is so
Andy's
funny.
behest, actually.
Yeah.
It was like, you've got 2 hours before your shift. Why don't you go watch that? And I was like,
I quite like the bits every so often where it just pop up on screen. It just pop up on screen saying this is still a true story. I thought that was just a bit bizarre. I'm not saying that it's necessarily true to the story.
The moment of the film when it says that?
Yeah, they do it a couple of times, I think.
Those events didn't take place like that. So it was like it was Michael Bay trying to convince himself that he was still doing the true story. Yeah, it just upset me too much. Thing is, I was kind of looking forward to the film when it first got announced, because Bay, as lots of people know, I don't have a lot of love for. I think that he started well.
Transformers against you as well.
It started well with like The Rock, but he went completely over the top.
Yeah.
But when he said after making the last Transformers film, I want to do a pullback, do a lower budget, smaller personal film, and I thought, oh, we might get to see the talent that he originally showed come back. No, all out the window. So on to September.
And now he's in Transformers 4.
Don't do this.
Oh, go on. What do you want to mention?
The Conjuring.
The Conjuring was fantastic.
I've always moaned about a sort of little film. Well, it's not a little film. What really got to me, and I absolutely adored The Conjuring. It took it back to the old school, from the titles of going up the screen, which were like The Exorcist, to the little noises like Carpenter brought in. It just sold it to me totally. It's in my top 5 films, and yes, I have bought it. But some people in there were actually petrified. To the young girl that come out of it says she can't watch it again. And you know something? I left her because I thought, thank goodness a film can do that, and an horror film. I just had to get it in. Sorry, but
it scared me.
It petrified the people. Yeah, it started going a bit. Oh, where are you going? Are you going to the Last Exorcism and all this lot? But then it pulled it back. To me, it's one of the top horrors out there now, and that's a big statement coming from me. It really were. It pressed every single.
I remember how excited you were when we got the posters in for it.
Oh, to the fact that when we had a staff show, and even though it were a staff show was something like a comedy, I had to put the second trailer just the clapping scene, just scared everybody, and everybody's, what's this doing on here, Paul? Well, you've just got to watch this. Yes, I am a bit of a fanboy to horror, but The Conjuring in August it made my year, it really did.
September for me had a few really strong films again. Filth, I thought, was the best interpretation of an Irving Welsh novel since Trainspotting. Prisoners was a solid film, really well put together performances.
Gorgeous looking as well. Roger Deakins, the fact that he was just suburbia.
Man, Deakins. I just can't even get out.
I imagine he'll win his Oscar for Prisoners, and it'll be
how has he been nominated for so many bloody Coen Brothers films?
Rush was another one that ticked all the boxes for me. I mean, I'm a lover of Formula One, but I'm also a lover of Ron Howard's style of cinematography, and he captured the thrill of the races, but also the drama and excitement off the track so well. But for me, About Time was one that really struck home to me. I think it's with About Time, it's the relationships in the film. You've not only just got the love story between boy meets girl with time travel, but it's the father-son relationship that really struck deeply in my heart, and I just imagine, that's how I see myself as a father relating to my son as he gets older. And I thought that Bill Nighy just sold the film completely to me. Loved it.
I think I never get that one person that's seen it and didn't come out saying, I just want Bill Nighy to be my dad.
Yeah.
Everybody wants him to be my dad.
It's the type of film where you walk out and it's like, Dad? Yeah?
Is everything alright?
You said everything I loved about it. I was scared going into About Time that it was going to be what you would expect a film about, a rom-com about time travel to be, and it kind of, I think it knows that, and it kind of threatens it. And then it's like, no, it's fine. And then after about halfway in, it becomes the father-son relationship, which, like you say, you relate to with your son. I'm the same. I relate to with my dad.
Yeah.
And it was a lot better than I expected it to be. Richard Kase, another one who said he's not going to do any more movies. It's a shame.
About Time was a surprise hit for me. It really were. I just thought, oh, here we go again. And I sat and watched it, and it was just fantastic. It weren't the film of the
very typically English.
Yes,
it was.
It was a surprise hit for me. It really were.
I think we're all fairly like sold on it, aren't we?
Pretty
unanimous.
Have you not seen it?
No, I've not seen it.
Well, I think 4 of us are recommending
Predictably, I have not seen it.
4 of us are recommending that you go and get this film.
Talking about what's effectively a rom-com.
You've got somebody who loves The Rock, somebody who likes Fast and Furious, and that lot.
See, I saw it About Time about a month and a half before it came out, thanks to a nice trip down to London paid for by Universal. I love Universal. Big thumbs up to Universal.
Who's that? Universal.
I say, are Netflix and Universal slipping you backhanders?
Well, they have got another presentation day coming up in January, so... and I came back championing that film. I saw a load of blokes coming out with tears in their eyes. It was great. Stinkers for September. The stinker for me for September wasn't a complete and utter failure of a film. It was just a disappointment. Riddick. It promised so much and then delivered a sci-fi movie film of the week style of effects and just regurgitated what they did in the first film, but not as well. Admittedly, it wasn't as bad a film as White House Down, but it was the biggest disappointment for me because I wasn't expecting much from White House Down. Anyone got any thoughts on September?
Filth.
Filth
Was probably, if not definitely my film of the year, definitely up there. It was just couldn't put it into words. Like I say, yeah, it's probably my film of the year.
Yeah.
James McAvoy put in brilliant performance as a
just had a
thoroughly unlikable but likable at the same time character.
Yeah.
You wanted to hate him, but you just couldn't.
Felt sorry for him.
Yeah. And you know, you've already mentioned Eddie Martin earlier on.
Yeah, it's been brilliant in anything that he's been on this year.
As long as his judge done this completely off his face.
But he's dancing like that, like we both like.
Yeah.
Because Kat has stolen Filth away from me, I'm going to mention a film called Inner World.
Oh yeah, that was really good.
That was good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. It's the first film by Lake Bell. She's like a female voiceover artist. It's like the dude that like narrates over all like the movie trailers and stuff.
In a world,
yeah, that guy.
That's the whole film about that
is basically it. Just
Yeah.
kind of coming back, and she wants to be the first woman to do that, and pretty fantastic story, really. There's not been a lot of like movies where it's been like kind of pro like feminism in that respect in terms of films. So yeah, good.
The film that come out, well, the film of the year for me was Prisoners. Prisoners come out. It was 12 o'clock at night. We were going to watch a staff show. I thought, yeah, it looks really good, and it kept me awake.
It's quite a long film as well.
Well over 2 hours.
It was after we'd arranged to be watching it at midnight. As I was about to start it, I was like, "Oh my god, how long is this film?"
Did tell me. Oh, Andy said, yeah, you're watching it, yeah. And I thought it would have filmed me here. I really did. I was gripped in it. Besides certain people outside of me screaming, no, oh, no, oh, no, whistle. It was filming, yeah.
I say that is a mark of a really good film, though. If it makes you kind of like shout at the screen,
audience participation,
and be like, he's in there, he's in the ground. Like,
I felt like punching a person. It was a staff member, but it actually meant for the film.
Yeah.
The biggest letdown of the year for me, because I actually do read. This is to Karen. It's not a picture book or all like that. Well, Runner. I just thought it were so too clean, too.
I thought Runner had some solid performances in it. It had a great cast, but it just didn't quite know what it was doing as a film. It just meandered through. It's an average experience watching it, and only held together by Ben Affleck just showcasing that Ben Affleck can fucking act. So anyone who's whinging about him being Batman should just back the fuck off. October then.
Metallica, Through the Never.
Not even
as a Metallica fan, which I am. I just thought the narrative and Dane DeHaan's performance. I think he's probably my man of the year.
Dane DeHaan's in the film?
Yeah, he's the lead character.
He's the roadie who sent him on the quest.
Oh, and he's fantastic in Kill Your Darlings, which we'll get to when we get to December. But just the surrealness of the narrative and how it all sort of ties together with the concert at the end. I mean, I won't ruin it for anybody who hasn't seen it, but even if you're not a Metallica fan, it's worth watching.
It was an amazing IMAX experience.
It was fantastic in IMAX.
It broke the speakers.
I think I caught it on pretty much its last showing. And
I watched it on its very first showing, and we broke the speakers.
And the effects on that stage show was absolutely mind blowing. The And Justice for All statue that they built.
Yeah, and then just like demolish.
Yeah, just demolish, and the roadie running on fire. It was just.
One thing that really like annoyed me about that film, as much as I loved it and loved Metallica, is probably you never find out what is in my bloody bag.
I
know that's the whole
It's a
point.
MacGuffin.
It's a MacGuffin.
It is a
It's the
MacGuffin.
same sort of Pulp Fiction, what's in the briefcase kind
Just
of thing.
gold,
You just
yeah.
don't, I mean, there is some speculation amongst fans online. There's a sort of Cliff Burton soul theory.
Dave Mustaine's head.
Yeah,
That's what's in
yeah.
there.
The creator of Napster's head.
Yeah, all stuff along those lines. But, yeah, I really.
It's Lars who sent him on that mission. Get me the head of the creator of Napster. Anyone got anything aside from Thor: The Dark World, which obviously was just brilliant?
Captain Phillips.
I've not got around to watching it.
That was Tom Hanks' best film of the year.
It's one of those films.
Alongside Saving Mr. Banks.
It's for the Oscar.
It's a film that I
isn't it?
want to see when it's on TV.
It's not for the Oscar. Tom Hanks should win an Oscar for it, but it's not. He won't do because.
He'll be nominated
Because the
for,
cast of Mandela are going to win all the Oscars.
Well, that's fine by
exactly.
me.
That's
Give Idris
fine.
Elba all the awards for whatever
Sure,
reason they won. Yeah. But Captain Phillips is such a powerful film, mostly down to Tom Hanks and the other cast, the people who play the pirates, because it's not just Tom Hanks versus the pirates. They are portrayed as real characters as well. They used, I can't remember what nationality they were. Somalian.
Somalian.
Yeah, so that's it. They were Paul Greengrass used real. They weren't proper actors.
Use real
They
Somalians.
used real they used people that weren't actors to get the authenticity to it, and they really looked out because they are great actors in this role. And the last 5 minutes it'll floor anyone. It was Tom Hanks is incredible in it. It is his best film of the year.
Same. I feel like everybody's just like
Sorry,
stealing
I'm
off
sorry.
There's a lot of agreement going on
It's
now.
really-
It is. I'm not just being like, yeah, it was alright. I am looking at things, and then as soon as I'm about to say it, somebody's like Captain Phillips, and I'm like, ah.
I'm
Captain
sorry.
Phillips. It really is Captain Phillips.
Yeah.
Obviously, there were a reissue of a certain film, of A Nightmare on Elm Street, which obviously I could talk to.
Oh, if we're talking in
What
terms
was,
of like
what was-
all of the bloody reissues that came out.
I think what was the best thing about A Nightmare on Elm Street was a certain colleague's reaction to the film was actually potentially better than the film itself.
Had they not seen
Oh
it before?
yes.
The colleague in question was absolutely terrified by Nightmare on Elm Street, and I don't think I've ever met a single person.
I don't
who's
think
scared
she
by
went
that
to
film.
sleep.
She didn't go to sleep for several nights.
There's two great moments of the public performance of Nightmare on Elm Street that we ran, because I went to that one. The first one was, despite the fact that I'd arranged for people to be dressed up as Freddy and jumping out and scaring people, he jumped out and scared the shit out of me. And I screamed like a girl.
He got me as well. I screamed. Like,
And the second was the whole audience bursting out laughing at Johnny Depp's halter top. Johnny Depp in his 80s fashion in
Beautiful
his bedroom
crop top.
was beautiful, and everyone just started laughing. And just like, yeah, we all appreciate this film for what it really is. It's a great film. Yes, I mentioned Thor: The Dark World. I'm a Marvel fanboy. I enjoyed the last Thor, but I thought this one just really knocked it out of the park. It took Mjolnir, and it took the first film and went poof, and smacked it into orbit. It was a great film. It had more humour than Iron Man 3.
Yeah, definitely.
But not forced humour. It was just such subtle things, like him hanging Mjolnir up on a coat hook. Things like that had me chuckling away.
The chemistry between him and Tom Hiddleston is... That brought about a lot of the comedy.
That fake poster that's doing the rounds.
Yeah, it was like
Which
kinda holding
became
it.
an actual a Foyer standee in Korea or something.
Yeah.
Marvellous film. And
Pun
it just
intended.
Excellent.
yeah, not really, but I'll say that it was. And it shows that Marvel are just consistent.
Yeah.
They're consistently going to deliver. Every
They
time
haven't made
you
necessarily
think
a bad film.
every time you
There's
think
something
they're
good
going
about
to drop the ball, they go, oh well, actually no. I know Kat's sneering at
I'm
them.
not sneering. I never
She just
said
doesn't
that-
get
I
it.
never said that Marvel films are bad. I just don't get it.
Just not for you.
It's just not for me. You're right.
November then. Dom Hemingway, which we showed for about 2 shows. Hunger Games Catching Fire, Carrie remake, Saving Mr. Banks, Don John, and you see, I was torn. I so wanted to put Gravity as like the best film of that month, but it's one of those films that if it wasn't for the cinematic experience, if he only watched this at home,
Yeah,
I wouldn't have got it.
I think it's a little bit like Avatar. It was very pretty.
It needs the big screen because it's about the visuals, it's about the immersion into it.
I think if anything, it needs the IMAX.
Yeah,
because
I think it needs 3D more than it needs IMAX.
Yeah, I mean, this is a film that 3D, this is the film that the good Dr. Commode, who's so averse to 3D and waxes lyrical about how it's a bane on the existence of cinema. And he turned around and said, "You need to watch it in 3D."
I saw that video
stands
of
out.
him saying it, and that was hilarious.
And that's sold the 3D to me. And so when I went to watch it, I saw why he said that, and it's flawless. But I don't ever want to watch that at home.
Yeah.
Because there's not much story there. But for me,
I don't think it needs a lot of story though. This has been my kind of argument with a lot of people. I think that it's fine, but it's kind of like limited itself to that very small little bit of plot that it has. I think it would ruin it if it had more characters and if it was like more people in space.
The bit that threw in about her daughter having died very contrived, and that really didn't need to be in there. I think it was I
just thought it added a little bit more to her personality.
Well, I think it was a nudge to try and get more depth into Sandra Bullock's character, but for me it fell flat because, like I said, it didn't really require that, and it didn't make her character any deeper for me.
Did anybody see the short story? No, what they pulled from it?
That Jonas did.
Yeah.
No, I didn't see it.
So I kept meaning to watch it, but I never got around to it.
I'd recommend watching that because then Gravity has a little side story of it.
Yeah.
And it made it a bit more human, so to speak, that just somebody actually is on that side. To me, Gravity, we're all about the IMAX. From the fact that me going, "Ooh, woke a frog" in the performance, which everybody cracked up laughing at.
frog.
I think a great end to that film would have been if she'd have survived and then drowned in that. I thought that was going to be the horrible tragic
that was what was going to be happening.
She just,
when I saw
she
her
goes
go
back to
down.
Earth and then she drowns.
So she landed and walked onto the thing, and suddenly cannibals turned up.
That would have taken quite a long time.
A whole of the film.
I didn't see a lot of films in November, so I didn't actually have one that I saw that I absolutely hated. But I had two that I thoroughly rated. Don John, purely because it showcases that Joseph Gordon-Levitt has so much talent, he needs to start giving some away.
You know what? I was disappointed by Don John. I found Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character thoroughly unlikable. The same for Scarlett Johansson's character. The only redeeming feature I think was probably Julianne Moore, but I really didn't think much to it.
I mean, we've said this before that I think that it's a laddish thing that I latched on. It's a very laddish film. It's looking at like.
It's to say that it's the only a film that men can enjoy.
I
don't think he was meant to be a likeable character.
No, definitely not.
He's supposed to be someone who's so obsessed with pornography that he doesn't really relate to actual relationships.
He's a very selfish person. That's the whole. It's a little
bit like James McAvoy's character in Filth. He's not
but he is likeable. You pity him.
Yeah, but he's not meant to
be. You want him to better himself. Like, I had absolutely no sympathy at all for Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character in this film. Just like, you're a tosspot, mate.
Literally. And Saving Mr. Banks was a highlight for me. One of the highlights of the year for me. Such a beautiful film. Yes, there was some sugary elements sprinkled on to slightly twist the story. Yeah, but I don't care that there was some elements that were twisted, because it was twisted in such a well portrayed way, and there was nice touches, such as over the end credits, the recordings actually playing that they recorded back then, to show that what they showed in the film wasn't all just made up. Great film, and anyone who came out of that not singing "Let's Go Fly a Kite" obviously wasn't awake.
I think Walt Disney is such like a known person all the world over. I think it would be pretty impossible to get a pretty spot on version of him on screen these days. But Tom Hanks even doesn't do a perfect job of it in Save Mr. Banks, but he does encapsulate pretty much everything that Walt Disney was about. There's a scene in there which is possibly my favourite scene of the year, which is it's Walt Disney sat on the bench outside the little studio, and Richard Sherman, Jason Schwartzman, is playing Feed the Birds on the piano, and Presumably it's the first time Walt has heard the song, and he goes up and he sits next to Richard Sherman and they're playing it. And anyone who knows anything about Walt Disney, that is Walt Disney's favourite song.
Just puts into context, he knows everything about it.
If you haven't guessed, I'm kind of fan. Walt Disney would get those two brothers, the Sherman brothers, to come play that song for him whenever he wanted, essentially. And so it's a great scene, and the scenes in Disneyland themselves, I would have given anything to be there.
Yeah, definitely.
To have been in Disneyland when essentially Walt Disney is walking round. Yeah. That would have been a song. That would have been incredible.
Yeah, I think one of my favourite scenes from that film, and again possibly the entire year, the bit where they're playing one of the songs, they're playing the financial fiduciary bank. Difficult word to say, and it's kind of like intercut with scenes from her dad making a speech, and he's basically saying all of the lyrics from the song.
Colin Farrell needs to get a lot of love for this movie as well, because he's fantastic.
He's really good.
Yeah,
and that's when she pretty much just kind of breaks down. You find out that it is about her dad.
Yeah, definitely.
And man, that was heartbreaking. Yeah, and just the whole thing just made me. Not sound too overly sentimental and nostalgic, but it reminded me of being 5 and watching it with my gran, and just kind of wanting to go back and watch it with my gran again. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Just quickly, what do people think of Hunger Games?
Brilliant.
Not watched it. Didn't like the first one.
It was better than the first one.
It was better than the
I've heard.
It was very grim though. There wasn't really.
It's a pretty grim series, to be fair. If you've read the books.
I mean, the first one at least is the high point. They win and they sort of overcome. Well,
win.
There are no winners. There are only survivors, sort of thing. They win and they overcome sort of the capital for now. But the Catching Fire is all low points. There's no point where you think, it's not going to end well.
It definitely tries to be the Empire Strikes Back.
I was just going to say, people calling it the Yarl fiction version of Empire.
Yeah.
The end is literally Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
I always expect them to be, looking out to the distance.
It's like, now let's go over to Cloud City. Yeah.
Saving Mr. Banks. Paul does have a heart. Of all these horror films he watched, he does have a heart.
3 sizes that day.
Sparing that, Okay. Saving Mr. Banks for me, and that come alongside a film where everybody would probably think, Paul would probably go for Carrie. Where I thought it were a good adaptation.
I thought Carrie was a good modern update. I just felt that there's bits on the cutting room floor that I want to see.
Yeah.
Because it was pitched that they were going to do that whole decimation of the town that was missing, but it was like that got cut out again. So I know there's a campaign online at the moment to try and petition to get the full, because apparently that was cut and they want to get it restored for the DVD. And I want to see that, because that's why I wanted this Carrie remake, because as a fan of the book I wanted to see the bits that weren't covered last time round, and I just felt that it was just doing a retread, a good retread, just a retread.
There were some good elements of the modern age what were incorporated in it, and you could see things, but I agree with Andy, a lot of things that all waiting for this big scene which couldn't have been done in the original, and then he sat waiting for it, and then it just felt like bang bang bang, I'm finished, and I'm like, well, where are you gone?
Sorry, just my film of November was probably Philomena. Has anybody else?
Not seen it.
I've not seen it.
No, it wasn't as kind of sentimental as I thought it was going to be going in. I actually went in knowing kind of what was going to happen, because the customer came out of a screen and just said everything.
I think we need to put signs up that say, please keep your discussions about the film to your left of the film.
Yeah.
We have staff here who want to watch these films.
But even in spite of that, even knowing pretty much every point what was going to happen, still rocked me when every single bit happened. And it's a subject that, unless it's being brought to your attention in a film or a show, you're not really going to know anything about it. That did really kind of get to me, that one.
So we're on to the last month of the year, December.
Ho ho ho.
Ho ho ho. December saw the American remake of Old Boy. It saw Kill Your Darlings, which I know Kat wants to talk about. It saw Homefront. It saw Frozen, which I'm sure Rob will want to talk about. It saw Anchorman 2. It will see Harry Hill. We're recording this in advance, one day in advance of Harry Hill, the movie coming out.
We're all excited about it.
Going to watch it. Is anyone going to watch it?
I'm going to watch it.
I would sooner shovel my own head off with a blunt spoon
Is it going to be worse than the Keith Lemon film?
The thing I'm most upset about with that film is that Julie Walters has put a name to it.
Jim Broadbent has put his name to it.
Jim Broadbent's in it?
Yeah, he plays a sea person that's covered in sea urchins and seashells.
Yeah.
That's bizarre.
I'm starting to hate the film even more, and I didn't even think that was possible.
You'd think with like Julie Walters and Jim Broadbent attached, they could get a decent film out on it, but the trailer just...
There's certain depths that you sink to where it's just irretrievable. I think Harry Hill is one of those depths.
I've upset my daughter because I flatly refused to watch it.
So, Kat, tell us about Kill Your Darlings, because I've not had a chance to watch it.
I didn't realise we'd only got it on sort of 1 week release, so it was actually thanks to Paul that I managed to catch it at 11 o'clock last Saturday night. And, you know, film of the year, definitely. Again, Dane DeHaan, probably my man of the year. It was just so engaging. Daniel Radcliffe really pulled away from the sort of Harry Potter.
It looks more like Harry Potter and Kill Your Darlings than they ever did when he played Harry Potter.
He's trying to like Ginsberg.
It's just an absolutely fantastic film, and I'm thoroughly upset that it only had a 1 week run and I've not got to catch it again before it disappeared. And I enjoyed the nice bit of irony where Michael C. Hall gets stabbed and dumped in a river.
It's one for the fans of Dexter then. Just in case you're choosing the same film, I want to ask Kase before
well, I didn't get around to see that. I really wanted to. But, again, we only had it for 1 week. I'm going to say Smaug.
Desolation of Smaug.
Smaug.
I think a lot of people saw my expression on my face as I came out of that, and people also saw how Rob felt about it, thanks to him making local press.
I'm not inclined to go and watch it, and the pure reason is the first Hobbit bored me to death.
Well,
I can't get through it without falling asleep, honestly.
Yeah, I had a similar experience with First Hobbit and watched this and found myself utterly captivated and riveted by it.
I didn't catch it at the cinema.
It hit the ground running.
I watched it on a certain video streaming subscription service that will remain nameless. I can't get through it without falling asleep, honestly. And
I felt the same from the first Hobbit. I just thought, what am I going into?
I think everyone did. The Unexpected Journey is a bit of a letdown because it's essentially the exact same film as Fellowship of the Ring, which is a better film.
I loved it.
I just think we wouldn't have won the premiere thanks to the Cineworld, the Sheffield, and the people who come here and vote. I'd have not gone and watched it because the letdown of the first film just didn't do anything for me. But when I sat there, it captivated me. The ending made me chuckle because everybody was so frustrated.
I was buzzing from the start. It was, you see Bjorn in bear form, and I was like, it's Bjorn. Then you see the House of Bjorn, I was like, it's the House of Bjorn. Then you see
him in his normal form, and
it's Bjorn. Then you see Dol Guldur, and I was like, it's Dol Guldur. Everything, I was just getting excited as someone who loves the material that it's been adapted from, whether it be The Hobbit, or the appendices to Lord of the Rings, or the histories of Middle-earth. And also the artwork that has been drawn
Alan Lee and... I can't remember the names. Jim Lee and Alan Ho, I think, something like that.
And
fantastic
it's the fact that there was the dedication to make the film look like that artwork that I loved. I mean, I'm with you that it was the best film of the month. I was smiling from ear to ear after watching it. I thought there was a good level of humour in there. They had some great sequences. The battle sequence alone.
Is about with the train sequence on Lone Ranger.
It's so well choreographed that
the bit with Bomber is...
I can't wait.
He's in the bomber, spins around.
I can't wait to see the storyboard art for that on like the extras, because you can see how detailed they had planned that out. It's like Jackson knew exactly where every character was, even the minor characters, throughout that whole journey.
It was marvellous. The action scene of the year for me. I really did.
You've
got your Fast and Furious, you've got your Pacific Rim, your Lone Ranger and all them lot, and it took December to get this scene where I actually thought the barrel scene, wow, this is really good, and kept me going.
I can't even fathom how they worked that out and how long it would have taken
Peter
to be
Jackson
like
is a
that arrow needs to be there when Legolas is there and Battlehawk is there.
So what's better? What comes first, Hobbit or Frozen?
Frozen. As much as I love The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, Frozen. I had a slight issue with The Hobbit. Was the first hour it goes by as they go at such a quick pace. You like get 10 minutes with Bjorn and then 15 minutes in Mirkwood, and then they're quickly on the way to Lake Town. It's a bit too quick. Slow down and make another movie, you know. It's like
Do 4 parts.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't tempt
Don't encourage it.
But yeah,
Extended for
Frozen.
DVD.
Yeah.
Frozen, the extended edition of Desolation of Smaug, I imagine will be fantastic. But Frozen was... I loved Wreck-It Ralph and I loved Tangled and Princess and the Frog. Frozen is probably the best Disney film since
Beauty and the Beast.
Aladdin. Yeah, Beauty and the Beast, yeah. It's... The songs in it are fantastic. Let It Go is an instant classic. It's just incredible. And the way they animated the snow, I can't fathom how long that took to animate because it looks absolutely amazing. The two main characters, Anna and Elsa, are both very different characters, and at the same time they're both very empowering. It's not very often you get very strong female-led casts, and Frozen does it really well. Especially Elsa, who she's spent all her life told to be a certain way, and then she essentially breaks free of that. And with the Let It Go sequence it's up there as one of the sequences of the year again, because they've released it online, and I've watched it online 3, 4, 5 times, as well as seen it in the cinema twice.
See, I'm loving the fact that Disney are going back to their traditional way of making films. They're going back to like your Hans Christian Andersen stories,
Definitely.
adapting them for the film, but adding songs back in.
Yeah.
They're no longer afraid of putting songs in.
Really quality songs as well. Have you got
Let It Go is
Broadway writers to do it.
I think it was Christoph Beck who did the song too.
Yes, it was. But like the thing about the songs as well, it was fantastic because when I first saw the film, thought songs were really good, probably really good. Didn't really think about them. About a week later, I could not stop singing like In Summer.
In Summer is brilliant. One of the best jokes in the entire film.
Fantastic.
Well, I intend to catch that and bring my kids in to watch it because I've not watched it myself yet.
Just a quick one more word on Frozen. You should see it in 3D purely to see the short film beforehand in 3D because the Mickey Mouse short.
They mixed the classic animation with them.
I thought that would be the highlight, and then Frozen came. And Frozen was amazing. But Get a Horse was so. They even used the Walt Disney voice of Mickey Mouse. It's as a massive Disney fanboy, and any fanboy out there for Disney, they'll absolutely love it. But it needs to be seen in 3D.
Right. So as we wrap up at the end of 2013, I want each of you to say one film that you're looking forward to in 2014. Kase.
Probably Inside Llewyn Davis.
Rob.
I'll go Guardians of the Galaxy.
Kat.
Dallas Buyers Club.
Paul. We'll get back to Paul. I'm going to say the Lego Movie. Paul.
Should we do another one each?
I'll probably get round to it because I'm like, Jesus Christ, there's probably Godzilla there, but I'm probably going to say the most one. I'm looking forward to Godzilla, but the most controversial one, probably around this table, is are they going to do a better Transformers?
Is that next? Yeah, that is next year.
Oh, a shiver just went down my spine. So I'd like to thank Kase, Rob, Kat, and Paul for joining me for this quite extended discussion. I hope you all enjoyed it, and we intend to get together and record some more discussions in future dates. Thank you very much, guys.